Among all the influencer boxers, there's only one boxer that everyone fears. He systematically destroys his opponents and looks like a true predator among all the influencer boxers. But is Salt Papi really that good at boxing? You'll find out now. Salt Papi. Many have only seen 3 of Salt Papi's fights, the ones that everyone knows about. But few know that he has had dozens and dozens of street fights.
Big one, big one.
That's a knockdown, bro. That's a knockdown.
In the Philippines, locals hold only 2 sports in high regard: basketball and boxing. Basketball because it's the country's primary sport, and boxing because of Manny Pacquiao. That's why Salt Papi grew up playing basketball and then loved sparring in boxing. Sometimes, during fights, he even managed to block basketballs thrown by kids playing nearby. Apart from the vast experience he gained from street fights, Salt Papi also developed confidence. He remains composed and at ease in the ring, which is a common trait among former street fighters like George Masvidal. They genuinely relish fights and are avid fans of the sensations they provide. They understand that character is the most important element in a street fight and carry that mentality into professional fights. As a result, their opponents can't anticipate the pressure of both experience and trash talk in the ring. Halal Ham. In his very first fight, Salt Papi surprised everyone with his constant movement, approach from the left, and frequent changes in attack. He used his jab to disrupt his opponent and punished him whenever he attempted to attack. It was evident that his experience in street fights was making a significant difference. In his debut fight, he displayed precision, speed, and distance, much like a professional fighter. Halal Ham looked like a trapped animal, clearly not wanting to be in the ring. Salt Papi's jab gave him no chance to attack. Every time Halal tried to move around to jab and attack, he was immediately countered. This is precisely why Salt Papi uses his jab. It makes it incredibly difficult for his opponents to get close because Salt Papi immediately starts the chaos. In the end, Halal Ham was beaten, but he was fortunate to survive the fight, unlike Salt Papi's other opponents. It became apparent that Salt Papi was not the kind of fighter the newbie influencer boxer should face, as it would be like beating up a baby. The reason for this is that Salt Papi has a genuine boxing style that should not be confused with the fighting styles of KSI or Jake Paul. I would describe his style as almost like Manny Pacquiao's, because Salt Papi is a massive fan of Pacquiao, and it shows that he is trying to replicate the style of the greatest Filipino boxer. He uses the same feints and combinations. He is a pressing counter-attacker who constantly presses, takes his time, and forces his opponent to make a mistake before punishing him with his left hand, which truly resembles Manny Pacquiao, with the only difference being that he is much more charismatic in the ring. Andy Warski. In the battle against Andy Warski, Salt Papi displayed significant progress. He had slimmed down, become much faster, and was already taunting his future victim during the stare-down. From the first few seconds, he demonstrated unbelievable feints, doing everything to hide his left straight, just like McGregor used to do in MMA. He feinted, threw jabs, and did anything to get a reaction from his opponent, but he didn't throw the left straight until the time was right. Papi quickly realized that Andy was afraid of the jab, very tense and keeping his hands in a guard against straight punches. Then, we saw 4 feints in a row and a left hook.
Some of the best
To the casual viewer, it may have seemed like Warski was just foolishly missing 4 punches, but it was the feints and jabs that Papi used to set up the knockout. Josh Bruckner. Josh Bruckner was Salt Papi's most experienced opponent. He had a successful MMA career with 2 wins and no losses before the fight with Papi, and everyone thought he had a chance against the Filipino. However, it turned out not to be the case. Bruckner appeared apprehensive to engage in the fight, sticking to a defensive stance and only throwing jabs. Salt Papi, noticing this, taunted him with a "don't be scared, homie" attitude.
Don't be scared, homie.
Reminiscent of Nick Diaz. It was evident that Papi was well-versed in boxing and MMA history, taking cues from famous fighters. Initially, Josh relied on his height advantage and tried to maintain distance with jabs, but it was impossible in the fight with Papi. With his jab, Papi closes his opponent's eyes, which is clearly visible from his angle. The opponent doesn't see what Papi is preparing and gets punished. When Josh managed to make one good combination, Papi was pleasantly surprised that Brookner was still trying to do something in the fight. In the second round, Brookner had to take more risks to have a chance at victory. Unfortunately, his decision proved costly, leading to his eventual defeat. Interestingly, the knockout in the Pacquiao-Marquez fight was identical to his knockout against Josh Brookner. Both opponents tried to throw a straight punch with a lead hook, but got caught in a footwork trap, and both went to sleep. It's evident that Salt Papi incorporates techniques from Manny Pacquiao after honing these skills through street fights. While some may view this as a negative, it's actually beneficial that he learns from a great boxer. As the saying goes, one should learn from the best. Moreover, Papi's charisma and trash talk add another dimension to his fights, making him a formidable opponent. However, when examining fighters with a comparable style, they typically lose to those with superior endurance and speed in their straight punches, like Conor McGregor's loss to Nate Diaz. Among the influencers in boxing, only Slim has a chance, but his sloppy style makes it unlikely that he could win. KSI versus Salt Papi. One of the main fights that Salt Papi asked for was his fight against KSI as the face of influencer boxing. But KSI would simply have no chance in this fight, because even trying to make that infamous jump with an overhead would end with a knockout from Salt Papi. KSI is the kind of boxer who likes to fight, not box. So fighting against a former street fighter who punishes for any mistake like Manny Pacquiao is simply impossible for KSI. I think KSI's athleticism would help him withstand a couple of rounds in this fight, but in the end, Salt Papi would knock out JJ. What do you think? Can anyone in influencer boxing beat Salt Papi? Write in the comments.